Distinguished dignitaries, faculty members, and the delegates for this conference. It is indeed my pleasure to be here today. What I'd like to discuss in this brief presentation is I will take you around to the healthcare scenario in the country, talk of pharmaceutical market, and then I will talk of successful healthcare models, pharma models, which are there in the healthcare industry. If we see healthcare market and talk is healthcare market in India is the sunrise market. It is at inflection point. It is undergoing fundamental change. And if I look today's Jeff Melt, GE chairman statement, what will make difference in the healthcare in this country is the entrepreneur energy, which Rajiv referred to in the beginning of his keynote address. I will focus on some of the areas. In fact, pharma industry is the classical example and has put India on the healthcare map of the world. If we look at over the years, the economy, the way it has moved around, in the past, we used to say, roti, kapda, makan, that is important. From today's and tomorrow's point of view, it is shiksha, it is sehat, it is sadak, which is very, very important. So what is going to be important as far as future of this country is concerned is education, it is healthcare, and it is infrastructure. And we are very fortunate here who are there in this group here, sitting here in this conference. We are discussing the basic issues of healthcare, and we will see the next decade, there will be fundamental changes which will emerge as far as healthcare is concerned. I, being in the part of various government bodies, part of OPPI, I will throw some of the insights there and try to put this healthcare infrastructure forward. If we look at the healthcare market, and these are broad figures, this is just to set the tone of this presentation. The market is around $79 billion market. It's Frost and Sullivan work. Three critical sectors of this market is healthcare services, pharma and nutrition, medical equipment, and infrastructure, 19%. Direct employment by this sector is around 4 million. And this is the fastest growing sector of the economy. This is what has put India on the map in the world. And with the combination of IT and healthcare, we can be a formidable force going forward. Over the years, the market has grown up around 29%. At the moment, $79 billion market will rise to $158 billion in 2017. This is Frost and Sullivan estimates. But those who are involved in the healthcare industry, the market is explored, and it will depend on the entrepreneur power unleashed with the policies in the government. Because last 2 years, yes, the growth of the market has been impacted. But what will be critical to unleash this power? And that's why in many of the policy planning forums with various governments, what we have been talking is we have to take the policy paralysis out, and India can be a powerful factor as far as unleashing the power of the sector is concerned. And fundamentally, also it is important that health is fundamental to the nation and to unleash the potential of the nation. Because wherever you see worldwide, wherever healthcare parameters are right, it unleashes the potential of the nation. If we look at, these figures are very startling, our healthcare expenditure, I'm not talking of developed countries of the world where we are part of it, I'm not talking of US, UK, compared to even neighboring countries and smaller countries, our healthcare expenditure are lowest as far as the government expenditure is concerned. Total healthcare expenditure is in India is 4.2% of the GDP, 132 in real terms. Government expenditure is only 1.2%, although the manifesto of every party is talking today around 2.5 to 3% expenditure. Expenditure is very, very important because unless we invest in healthcare, the economy cannot grow. Because when I started my career in 1977, passing out from IIM Ahmedabad, government infrastructure was in better health. But unfortunately, today, the infrastructure has deteriorated a hell of a lot over a period of time. And the critical question is, how do we first increase the expenditure on healthcare? 4 P's of marketing we used to talk about, but all very, very relevant. If we have to transform healthcare, the product has to lead to solution, and there will be a lot of examples which I will be giving. Place and access is very, very important. In fact, right in the beginning, Rajiv talked about it. Affordable, accessible, and available healthcare is very, very important. In fact, we in Abbott talk of democratizing healthcare in this country, making sure that healthcare is available to the masses when they need it. And so the goal is immense, but that is fundamental. And price, instead of we focus too much only on the pricing part, but value becomes very, very important. And if we see today's work, which Porter has done, redefining healthcare, which is a landmark book which he has published, we have to go on value. And there can be fundamental changes, and I will give off some of the future healthcare models which are emerging, which are focusing on value instead of just cost, 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 because that's the framework which we look. We talk only of cost, but we forget value, which is very, very important in the context of healthcare. And I will give it example with the example of some of the models which are emerging. And instead of promotion, partnerships. And it will become very, very important, the kind of partnership we develop. Because in healthcare, it's all about partnerships. It is public-private partnership. It is partnership between different sectors of the industry. And the classical example of partnership, government partnerships and private partnership, has been EMRI, Emergency Medical Relief Services, which have been started from Hyderabad, and the example of Piramas quoted earlier in the part of the presentation. And we will see a lot of partnership which will be emerging in the field of healthcare. If we see pharma market is showing around 12% growth. In size term, it is around $12 billion. But the prices of the pharma products is around 125th average price of the world market. So although we are fourth largest, we are 15th largest market in terms of value, but in terms of pricing, in terms of volume, we are the fourth largest market in the world. And India is rightly described in the world as the pharmacy of the world. So the critical thing is, yes, in terms of value, we are 15, but in terms of volume, is fourth. So one of the myths which is there is, are the Indian products prices high? Certainly not. But the question is, how do we make sure that it is delivered to the masses? And that's why the healthcare infrastructure becomes very alone, which is important. It is how do we make those medicines available to the masses, and how do we make this infrastructure available to the masses. The market is highly cluttered. It is the most competitive market in the world. We have got 20,000 companies. Top 10 companies account for 42% share. It's still acute care market compared to many markets of the world. And we have got 600,000 as far as serving this market is concerned. Over the years, the pharma market has developed hell of a lot. In 1980s, it was 20% Indian companies, 80% multinational companies. But today, the whole system has reversed. Indian companies have played a very, very important process patent. Indian companies like Dr. Reddy's set up their own manufacturing plant, and today we are the lowest cost producers in the world. 2005, when the patent era has come in, yes, there are a lot of issues of patent which are being talked about, but it is evolving thing as far as the market is concerned. Now, the next decade is a very important decade. This decade is very, very important, where we will not be only the pharmacy of the world, but perhaps I will start seeing a lot of innovations taking place from India, and that is the place where the world will take place. If we see the disease profile in India, previously in 2000, profile, it is heart disease, depression, which is very, very common. In India, still is diarrhea, gastrointestinal disease, but from future point of view, what we will be seeing is heart disease, depression, diabetes will become very, very important. And maybe perhaps one of the moves which was talking about, Dr. Raji was talking, setting up a center for diabetes become very, very important. We have been part of giving dimension to the diabetes market in this country with insulins, and that's the area which will become very, very important going forward. It is disease syndrome which will become very important in times to come. In diabetes, we have got at the moment 61 million patients, will go to 101 million. Although it's not right to say, but India is the diabetes capital of the world. Hypertension, 130 million, going to 240 million. Cardiac deaths, 9 to 18 million. It is not only diabetes, but the more important thing is how diabetes is treated in this country. If I start comparing some of the data which is available as far as Indian market is concerned, if we look global market, in developed market, diagnosis from prevalence is 70%. But in India, the issue is diagnosis itself of diabetes. Most of the time, we realize that we are suffering from diabetes when we go for medical checkups. In rural areas, smaller cities, It is not there. When we started in diabetes business in 1993 with insulins, we used to call at that time, it is only rich man disease, the incidence was only 2 to 3%. But today, there may not be any person sitting here who does not know diabetic patient in the family. We are talking of incidence of around 8 to 10%, and in some cases, as high as 14%. But the issue is, first is the biggest issue is, how do you diagnose disease and how do you comply with this disease? And that's why there are a lot of healthcare models which are emerging, which has to focus more on diagnosis as well as compliance of disease, because the biggest issue in this country is compliance. And if the compliance is not right, it will add to the cost of the disease, because there are chances of foot amputation, there are chances of eye failure, there are chances of heart disease. So it becomes very, very important that how do you improve the compliance, and what Porter is talking about, and I will talk about the future healthcare models where he's talking of integrated practice units, which become very, very important. And India having the advantage of IT and robust healthcare infrastructure, it is just looking at the value chain which will make fundamental difference the way we treat every patient. Going forward, if we look at the moment, what's the fundamental issue as far as country is concerned? Has got the access to healthcare. The issue is not availability of medicine, issue is availability of infrastructure and the governance of that infrastructure which is there. 60% of the rural population has to travel more than 5 kilometers. There are 0.71 doctors per 1,000 population compared to 0.83. Bed density is low. Now, these are known facts. Last year, we released a report with IMS. We are under discussion with Planning Commission. How do we improve and address this issue? And fundamentally, what is very, very important is taking care of governance structure. This institute is doing a lot of work because that is fundamental to take the access of healthcare to wider masses. As far as healthcare pharma industry is concerned, I will talk about different segments, the way we are looking at the industry and how this industry has evolved over a period of time. Simple way of segmenting this industry, and all these 4 sectors have played a very, very important role. We have got formulations, the most competitive industry in the world, 10,000 formulations, 80,000 packs, 60 therapy areas. There is no other part of the world where the pharmaceutical products is as economical as in India. We, on an average, our prices are 1/25th or 1/10th of any part in the world. So in formulation business, we have played a very, very important role. A lot of work in contract research and manufacturing organization, CRAMS, as we call it, Jubilant, Pramel organization. We are exporters to the world. Like say, if I see US, every 3rd tablet, which is emanating from India. So a lot of work there are specialized organizations, which are only contract research and manufacturing organizations. APIs, we have become very big player in the world, and the companies like Heathrow, they are focusing only on active pharmaceutical ingredients. So there are companies which are concentrating on API business. And exports, yes, in pharma export is a big thing. We supply to all the countries in the world, and export from India is around $14 billion, as big as domestic market. So these are 4 primary segments, and there are different business models which every company is employing. Many of the companies, like Lupin, Dr. Reddy's son, they started at formulations, now getting into exports. Many of the companies, like Heathrow, started as API, focusing on API exports. There are companies, Jubilant, which started at contract manufacturing. Many of the companies are complying or combining various business models. There's alliance and acquisition becoming a big thing. There's not a day in the paper where alliance and acquisition will not be talked. And we will see over a period of time. This is just the beginning. We will see tremendous alliance, acquisition, and partnerships which are taking place as far as this industry is concerned. And what I've tried to do here is just to put this whole game on 2 axes. One is alliance, partnership, acquisition, and both for domestic and global market. What was said and done when I started around 30 years back in this industry, yes, India was a very small player. It is global companies which used to dominate the market, but today in any forum in the healthcare industry, pharma industry, India's voice is heard. So there is acquisition model, which is what Abott Piramal, biggest acquisition in recent times, Sun Ranbaxy, Reckitt Paras, Fresenius, and Dabur. Global market, Sanofi has bought Shanta Biotech for vaccination business globally, majorly. Hospira has bought Orchid for API capability, and Mylan has bought metrics, and strides, again building API capability for global markets. There are partnerships by Zydus, Lilly Lupin, Novartis USP, Novartis Abbott. So there are partnerships which are happening to capitalize on the opportunity and offer better access. And there are global opportunities which are thought Indian companies and multinationals are entering into collaboration to utilize research capabilities. In fact, Glenmark is being used by Sanofi for developed molecules for the world market. So you see a lot of partnerships, and this is a hot area where a lot of partnerships are emerging. In the Indian sector, for a domestic market, also there are different kind of business models which are emerging. There is no one size fits all. And this is a classical example of where differentiated business models employing sound business sense which are being employed. There are niche therapy companies which focus on particular therapy areas. Sun started only on chronic therapy areas, which is diabetes, mental diseases. USPP started chronic therapy areas. Allergan is a company which talks only of eye disorders. Again, Abbott has a wing. Along with Novo Nordisk, we deal with diabetes. There are diversified approach which the companies are taking. You are there everywhere because you are very, very big. And Abbott is a classical thing, which is not only in the pharmaceutical, it is leading healthcare company. Whether it is stent business, we are number one in the stent. Whether it's nutrition business, we are number one in the nutrition business. Whether it is eye care business, we are number one in the world in that area because we think integrated healthcare model is important from future point of view. Abbott and Johnson & Johnson believe in diversified healthcare model. We have got research-based companies, which is MSD, and we have got geographic-based companies like Aris. They are concentrating on selected markets. And lastly, there are companies which only deliver cost-based healthcare, which is Mankind. India is the innovation hub of the world, can be the innovation hub of the world. Unfortunately, has been impacted because of the government policy. And the classical thing is the greatest advantage which we have in this country is entrepreneurial culture, experimentation.